What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Once again, we're going to do another quick little comparison. Actually, this is not going to be a quick one. This is going to be pretty thorough. And you might be wondering, dude, why in the world are you comparing the Galaxy Note 9 to the iPhone 10 in this day and age? Such a random comparison you're doing. Well, I have two things to say about that. One, I just picked up the Galaxy Note 9, and so I really had no choice. I should have done these earlier, but I just kept forgetting, going on and on about what am I supposed to review. And iOS 13 came out on all these different devices, and I just totally forgot to even pick this up. But the iPhone 10 is the main device that I'm using as that main phone that I'm using every day. And right now in the used market, obviously you can't buy an iPhone 10 brand new anymore, but you can get a Galaxy Note 9 new. And between both of them in the used market, they're selling for somewhat around the same price. The iPhone 10 is still a little bit more expensive, which actually says a lot about the Galaxy Note 9 and the depreciation of Samsung phones. I think the Google Pixel 3 XL and the Google Pixel line is doing a pretty decent job at maintaining its resale value, but the Galaxy Note 9, for some reason, Samsung phones just sell for so low amount after a certain amount of time. So we're going to go through a comparison, see which one you should pick up. And surprisingly, honestly, even though I use an iPhone as a main phone and I like iOS, dude, the Galaxy Note 9 is still a killer device in literally every single which way you look at it. Now, starting off with the outside, if you couldn't already tell, the Galaxy Note 9 is a much bigger device than the iPhone 10. It's bigger literally in every single way. On the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, we have a 6.4-inch Super AMOLED display. That is a 1440p panel, and that is an amazingly sharp panel. It's extremely good. There's really nothing I can say that's bad about it. It is an extremely good device in terms of just the panel itself. The iPhone 10 has a 5.8-inch 1125 by 2436 panel. Now, it isn't quite as high resolution as the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. The pixels per inch are also lower on the iPhone 10, but I don't think the iPhone 10 has a bad panel at all. I think it's a very good panel, and this is kind of a side effect. I don't really know, but for the iPhone 10 on iOS 13, I feel like the colors just pop a little bit more than on iOS 12. That could be a completely false statement, but it's just my opinion. So in terms of both of them, in terms of the panel, they're very sharp. I like both of them, but the Galaxy Note 9 might have the advantage there. Now, in terms of the outside, like I said, the Note 9 is bigger. The iPhone 10 has IP67 dust and water resistance. The Galaxy Note 9 has IP68 dust and water proofness. You can go up to 1 meter of water for 30 minutes on the iPhone 10 and 1.5 meter for 30 minutes on the Galaxy Note 9. And between both of them, they're very good in terms of ruggability. They both have glass on the back, which could be a pro, could be a con. In my opinion, I wish they just never put glass on the back. I just wish it was all plastic or metal or something. It's just one more piece to break on the back of these phones. And hopefully with the future, hopefully as phones become better and better, they can make somewhat better ruggedness in the glass so they don't break as easily. That's the number one thing that I see just breaking all the time. My iPhone 8 Plus has a cracked back. Some of my Samsung Galaxies have cracked backs as well. It would just be so much better if they just put metal backs or something like that in terms of both of them. But if you drop them, maybe the Galaxy Note 9 might break easier because it does way more. But in terms of both, they're solid. They both have dual camera setups on the back as well as a flash. I'll get into the camera setups in a second, but I think they're both very good. You have a fingerprint sensor on the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 in the back, where you have Face ID on the iPhone 10 as a security measure. So in my opinion, I like the fingerprint sensor on the Note 9 more than Face ID. But Face ID has kind of grown on me a little bit more, and I think over time, I think Apple is going to actually put in their Touch ID back into their phones eventually, so then these will be more at a level playing ground. Another cool thing about the Note 9 is that it does have a headphone jack on the bottom, where the iPhone 10 does not have a headphone jack. It only has a lightning port. Is it a big deal? It might be for you. It really isn't for me. That's one thing that you might have to play and mess around with. Now, that kind of covers up the outside, how both these phones feel. I kind of want to talk about the software, but it's kind of uneven because we're comparing Android to iOS, and they're completely different operating systems. They're both they have really nothing to do with each other at all. One interesting thing to note though, and I always find this so fascinating, the Galaxy Note 9 came out in 2018 in August, whereas the iPhone 10 came out in 2017. So technically speaking, the iPhone 10 is an older device almost by a whole year. So you would think the Galaxy Note 9 in terms of software is going to keep being updated more longer than the iPhone 10, but that isn't the case at all. The iPhone 10 right now is on iOS 13, was released with iOS 11.1.3 or something. It actually came with 11.1.1, so it's going to probably get an extra year of support than it usually does, but this thing is literally probably not even halfway done with its support life, whereas on the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, it got released with Android 8.1 Oreo. It has Android One UI now. It's going to get Android Q. It might get Android whatever one they're going to release after that, but I don't know, maybe Android Q.1 or 10.1 it ever gets it. That's one thing that we might see happen. I mean, I have no idea. iPhones usually tend to outlast the Galaxies and the Androids that usually come out around like a couple year difference between them, which is a pretty crazy thing. So even though the iPhone 10 is technically older than the Note 9, the Note 9 will probably not last as long in software support as the iPhone 10, which is always a crazy thing. And that kind of covers up the software as well. Let's go ahead and talk about the hardware within both of these phones. Now I'll tell you the specs. I did a speed comparison so you guys can look at it while I'm talking, but the iPhone 10 has the Apple A11 Bionic chip, a hexa-core CPU, and 3 gigs of RAM, where the Galaxy Note 9 has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 chipset on my phone, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 630 GPU, and depending on the variant you get, I have the 128 gig model, which is 6 gigs of RAM, but also there's a 512 gig model that has 8 gigs of RAM. And as you can see, I mean, specs on paper, the Galaxy Note 9 is a much faster device, and in real-world use, you can see that between both of them, the Galaxy Note 9 is the faster device. I honestly wasn't expecting that. I mean, I've compared tons of phones before, Androids, Galaxies, LGs, whatever, and I've always found that iPhones tended to be more faster, but this is crazy because the Galaxy Note 9 was pretty noticeably faster than the iPhone 10, and I've used my iPhone 10 every single day. I love it, and I didn't really see it being so slow or anything, but it really isn't, okay? The iPhone 10 isn't an extremely slow device. It's not at all. It's still an extremely fast device in my opinion, but if you're comparing it to an Android that has tons and tons of optimizations, it has its own software now with the One UI, it's the fastest Galaxy Note right now in this lineup, then it kind of makes sense, you know, it makes sense that Samsung is going to optimize it. And even though it is faster than the iPhone 10 is not a slow phone at all. If you're not even comparing these side by side, you probably wouldn't even tell that big of a difference if I'm being honest. But because you did, you can tell that the Galaxy Note 9 is the faster device, which is really cool. In terms of gaming, in terms of everything, the Galaxy Note 9, not only, it's surprising though, because the Galaxy Note 9 has a bigger panel, 6.4 inches, and is high resolution, but because of the specs inside of it, it's able to push those more pixels, push everything onto the screen. Gameplay is amazing on that display as well, so ultimately, the iPhone 10 is just a little bit slower, but it's still not a slow phone in my opinion. Now moving on to the cameras. Now I honestly don't even like talking about the cameras that often. They're both very, very, very good sensors. The iPhone 10 has 2 cameras and so does the Note 9. On the iPhone 10 it's a dual 12 megapixel sensors. Both the lenses have optical image stabilization. You can shoot 4K at up to 60 frames per second, and I'm going to tell you right now that camera is very, very good. I've had no problems at all with it. Maybe the only issue is sometimes like when I sweat or something I get like fog on the lens, but I just have to wipe it off, that's it. That's not even a camera problem, that's my body's problem that I sweat so much. But this camera is very, very good. The Galaxy Note 9, like I said, also has a dual camera setup. You have 2 12 megapixel sensors on that, as well as optical image stabilization. You can shoot 4K at up to 60 frames per second on the Galaxy Note 9. And like I stated before, honestly, if it was between both of these, I might say the Galaxy Note 9 has the better sensors overall. I think it shoots better videos and photos. But one thing that I say about the iPhone 10 is that I feel like the audio quality is a little bit better on the iPhone 10. Is it a big deal? Is it noticeable? I don't know, but that's always one thing that I've seen when comparing an Android and an iPhone, is that the photo, the image quality, whatever, might be better on the Android side, but on the iPhone side, the audio quality seems to be a little bit better in my opinion. Is that saying the Note 9's audio quality is horrible? Not really as far as I could tell, but I do like the iPhone 10 and the mixture of audio quality and camera quality. On the front of the iPhone 10, we have a 7 megapixel sensor, very, very good. On the Galaxy Note 9, we have an 8 megapixel sensor, very good as well. Biggest difference between both of them, 1080p you can shoot on the iPhone 10 and 1440p on the Note 9 on the front camera. And ultimately, I like both sensors. They're very, very good on the front and back. Maybe I do prefer the Galaxy Note 9 sensor overall more than the iPhone 10, but ultimately it's whatever, man. They're both very good sensors. Now let's end it off with the battery life. Now there's 2 more things I want to hit on. The first being the battery life. I find, okay, that the iPhone 10 with its 2700 mAh battery doesn't quite compete as good as the 4000 mAh battery on the Galaxy Note 9, which is surprising because the Note 9 has a way bigger display, it has a sharper resolution, way more powerful, and you would expect it to be, a little bit worse in terms of battery life, but I didn't really see that. They both have wireless charging, which is an awesome thing. They both have fast charging as well, but the one thing that I found out about the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 is that it does a pretty decent job at optimizing the battery, and I've seen the same thing with iOS, and I'm not even comparing it to what I have on iOS 13 right now, which is the beta. I'm comparing it to what I used to have on iOS 12 and my experience with it. And even though the battery life, in my opinion, isn't like way better on the Note 9, it might be just a little bit noticeably better. I don't think you'll get like 5 more days out of it or anything, but you might be able to get like a couple hours or 2 out of it. So in terms of battery life, I think the edge might go to the Galaxy Note 9. Now I kind of want to end off on a positive note for the Note 9 and the iPhone 10. The Note 9 does have two key features of it that are awesome, okay, that I haven't hit on yet. One, the micro SD card slot, amazing. I literally love that thing. That is so awesome. I wish more manufacturers would keep them or put them back into their phones. They're probably not, but the micro SD card slot is an awesome thing. And the S Pen is a humongous feature of the Samsung Galaxy Note line. It's pretty much what differentiates a Note versus a S series versus a lot of other phones on the market. This thing has an S Pen and a stylus that gives you so many more features that a lot of other phones don't offer. And even though you might think it's like, oh, it's just a stylus, I can buy one from Walmart for like $2 and use it, this thing gives you a little bit more functionality with it. And I really like the Samsung Galaxy Note 9's S Pen. On the iPhone 10 department, the software support is going to be killer. You're going to have so many more features on this phone, and it's going to last you for as long as you want to. You have way less bezels on the iPhone 10, and even though bezels aren't everything, the design of the iPhone 10 is going to last for a very long time. The Note 9's design is going to last too, but I would say between both of them, and to answer the question, should you pick up which one you should pick up in 2019, I will definitely tell you it's a tough call, but I think the overall best phone between both of these it's honestly a tie. I cannot pick one phone between both of them. I know it sucks, I know it's whatever, but you don't always have to pick a phone. You don't always have to pick which one is better. You know, they both have strong suits in each one. I think they're both as even as it gets. The Note 9 probably has more features and better camera quality and longer battery life, but the iPhone 10 has that software support and the hardware is awesome. And with iOS 13, you have a lot more functionality within your device. You have the Apple ecosystem you can be connected to. So I would say, dude, pick up whichever one you want. They're both around the same price, like I stated. I think the Note 9s might be cheaper. I'll go ahead and leave links to the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 and an iPhone 10, the cheapest ones I find on Amazon. I'll link them straight down in the description below so you guys can pick them up from there. But that is pretty much it, man. If you guys have any questions or anything, leave them down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I would really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.